thank you so much for agreeing to meet with us today and share a little bit about you and your journey. First of all, tell us a little bit about how you landed as Vice President for Communications and Marketing at Agnes Scott. Take us along the ride, if you will.
Happy to do so, and thank you so much for having me. So this opportunity actually came looking for me. I was not looking for it. I had been board chair of the Atlanta Women's Foundation for a number of years in this community and took a break after several years of just being so involved with that organization, being the first African-American board chair of the Women's Foundation, to just take a break. And during that break, the then president of Agnes Scott, President Elizabeth Tisch, former president, called and said, Danita, I'd like to talk to you about joining the board of directors at Agnes Scott. I asked her to give me a little more time just so that I could just kind of take a break from being in that space for so many years in a board space. And then I said yes to that opportunity. Well, as I was preparing for that opportunity and preparing to be voted in to the Board of Trustees here at Agnes Scott, President Tisch called back. And she said, I know you're excited about joining the board, but I have another opportunity for you. That was in 2017. And the opportunity she posed to me was to become interim vice president for communications at Agnes Scott. So I thought about it over the weekend, essentially, turned everything upside down in my life because I wasn't looking for this opportunity. Decided that I could put my consulting business on hold and said yes to the opportunity. So the opportunity looks like deferring my trusteeship, which I think is probably still out there in deferred land. And I was interim vice president for communications and marketing. I delivered on the 2017 commencement where Oprah was our speaker and showed the college how we could really elevate ourselves in terms of communications and marketing. And they took the interim off of my title about a month and a half later. So the lesson there is stay prepared. You just never know when the phone's going to ring.
Absolutely. What a great story and what a great opportunity. So tell us, first of all, what does it feel like to be recognized by Who's Who in Black Atlanta?
So I think it's an honor for anybody to recognize you for anything because people don't have to. But in this case, this one is so significant, not only because of the elevation in the business community, but because it's a recognition from our community. And that always is extra special. That means that someone is out there watching and learning, ideally, from me and other folks who are included in that publication or in other spaces where we're being able to be recognized, not just locally, because certainly your presence is nationally as well. So very humbled and honored to be included. And this is my second time, I believe, here in Atlanta, and then my third time overall being recognized in another city. And it's still just as special as the very first time. I'm very grateful.
Talk a little bit about, what it takes to succeed. Even in this day and age, we kind of think that things have gotten easier, but they have not.
Really, really great question too, Mark. So this job was busy and unpredictable enough before the pandemic hit. With the pandemic's arrival, everything literally was turned upside down. And we had to back up as a community and figure out how to stay connected with our entire community, faculty, students, staff, trustees, alumni, donors, the list goes on and on. So day to day, all of a sudden for a year and a half, didn't look like the typical day to day where I might be on campus where I am today. It looked like being on campus some of the time, being remote most of the time, trying to figure out how to deliver consistent messaging so that people would be aware of what we were doing as a campus community, trying to stay connected to our students who were struggling with new ways of learning and working and teaching and our faculty. So the space that I operate in under normal circumstances is extremely busy and unpredictable. But I would say it's fair to say in the last year and a half to 2 years, it's been even more of that. So what I believe it takes is someone not only who has a calm demeanor And as I was sharing with our president, President Zach, yesterday, someone who can sort of be steely in terms of just how they approach things every day. Because if I'm panicking, even in the midst of a situation, that energy will automatically transfer to other people from our president on down. So much of this position is about not only communicating effective messages, but also communicating assurances, especially based on what we're coming out of. It's been a really interesting time to be a communications and marketing professional.
Tell me a little bit about your Courageous Conversation series. You just recently held one on leadership and racial activism. I really believe that our republic is in the hands of our young people and the future leaders on your campus. Tell me a little bit about what you hope to accomplish with this series of conversations and what you hope that our young people, those young leaders of tomorrow on your campus, take away from it.
So Agnes Scott is a community of students who are kind, compassionate, and activists. They will take up any number of causes, as I suspect many women and students at other colleges and universities are doing in this particular time, especially. The Courageous Conversations came from what was happening in our country in terms of the social injustice space. And if you all recall, all of that was happening simultaneously with the pandemic, with people having to work remotely. All of that was just layered on top of itself. And so our fairly new Vice President for Equity and Inclusion, Dr. Eve Rose Porcina, who is also being honored in the Who's Who book this year, decided that we needed to figure out a way to bring our community together and bring experts to our community, and also take experts from our community out into the larger community to just have conversations. And that's how that phrase Courageous Conversations came up. And Dr. Porcina and her team must have held 6 or 7 of those over the span of the pandemic on key issues that were relevant to the times, maybe related to the pandemic, mostly related to social injustice, and just bringing people together so we could talk about these things in hopes of making some change and going higher as a community and as a nation.
Do you get a chance to mentor and interact with students in such a way that kind of is gravy on top of the job?
I do, and that's one of my favorite things to do. So we have on the undergraduate level a little over 1,000 students, and people know people around here. So not only do I watch how I show up, in fact, students will tease me. They call me VP Knight, and they'll tease me about being dressed up all the time. But what they don't realize I'm doing is I'm trying to model excellence. I'm doing my best to model excellence for them. And I want them to be proud of me when they see me walking around campus. As you all know, I am one of 4 Black vice presidents here at this college. And that is unprecedented for a college that is not an HBCU. And we suspect that we may be able to boast that about all of the colleges and universities in the country, period. We're not aware of any other college or university where there are 4 Black women, all vice presidents, reporting directly to the president. So they see that. And I know, and I make myself available for essentially open hours. We have a Keurig here and they can come have a cup of coffee or tea. And the deal is that I do meetings in 30-minute increments. So they better get it in with me in 30 minutes because that's all the time that we're going to take. Because I'm trying to also teach them to be respectful of other people's time and for me to be respectful of their time. So mentoring and being available to the students is wonderful and easy for us to do here at Agnes Scott just because of the way that we're set up, but it's very much a part of the culture. Right. Students know faculty, students know staff, students have nicknames for us, AKA VP Knight, the list goes on and on.
But let's talk about those kids who haven't gotten to Agnes Scott yet. The cost of a college education is skyrocketing. Do you guys have an initiative in place to help make it more affordable, especially for Black and brown children who don't come from the same economic means as white families?
Yes, we are very focused on what we call social mobility, which is giving students an opportunity to be on this campus, but also a platform to be successful, to ensure that they graduate and go on to a career or professional success. So that's very much a part of our culture. With that in mind, we have a number of ways, exacerbated by the pandemic, but a number of ways that we have always tried to work with students to make this collegiate experience more affordable for them. So there are a variety of scholarships, there are a variety of avenues that come from our admission division, where they're laser focused on students, for example, in STEM and opportunities that are specific to them. The key is for us to be able to get to the various students wherever they are, and certainly the pandemic and having to go remotely focused, made us change our focus in terms of how we even tried to go and look for students and bring them information about Agnes Scott. We have consistently been successful. We have one of the largest classes of first years in the college's history, and we did all of that recruiting during the pandemic.
Wow.
And our numbers in general of students on this campus are some of the largest in the college's history as well. And then about 43% or so of our students are Pell eligible. So we know how important it is for students to have that opportunity to come to college, but to be exposed to everything that college presents.
Right, right. And you couldn't have a better location. I mean, Atlanta is a global city now. Talk to us a little bit about the partnerships that you've formed around the city that students can take advantage of and get real world, practical experience as they head off into their futures.
So our students start their first year, and we call them first years, with a learning and an immersion of global citizenship and leadership. Nice. So in the second semester of every first year's life, that person will be going on what we call a global journey. And that is traveling literally around the world for at least a week, faculty led, so that they can have an opportunity to look at challenges other communities and countries are facing and help work towards solutions. So we make them aware of the importance of global citizenship and leadership right away. Now with the pandemic, we had to take those journeys virtually, but we still provided that global experience and that leadership experience in as innovative a way as we possibly could. In the sophomore year, there's an initiative called Scale. And that gets to what you were just making reference to, Mark, another about week-long series where our students have the opportunity to go to real work environments and learn about what people do. And that includes foundations and corporations and nonprofits, athletic organizations, et cetera. By their junior year, individuals are starting to focus on what they might be interested in. So they're working with their board of advisors, because each student has a board of advisors or a kitchen cabinet to set them up for success, nice. to really start honing in on what they're interested in. And every student's different. Some students are interested in grad school and they know that. Some students are interested in a career. Some students are interested in the Peace Corps, for example. The list goes on and on. And then by senior year, we're really getting them laser focused on creating their digital portfolio and getting work or graduate school ready. All of that is under the umbrella of our initiative called Summit, which is now tied to professional success. And that brings the global citizenship and the leadership together for every student.